Yeah. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF. If you can hear and see my presentation, kindly type in high speed in the comment section, please. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Carrie. Good morning. Good morning to you. Happy Friday. Uh, I guess we are all excited to be witnessing the end of the trading week. Oh, great. Thank you for the confirmation and thank you. Bonjour 246. Good morning. Adros Milan. Good morning to you. 635. Salute. Good morning. Lam Trang. Hello. Hi. You're welcome on board. Okay. 635 is new here. You're welcome. 359. Good morning to you as well. Mohammed, hi, how are you this morning? Okay. All right. I want to welcome you to yet another live X-Trend Speed session with my humble self, Sheriff Daramola. And as usual, I'm going to be taking you on a journey as we dive into the chat to snoop for opportunities as we monitor price movements and at the same time use this to identify chart patterns that will favor us as we move on to the New York session. Well, Friday is a very peculiar day as most times we don't normally take too much trades. We monitor our trades, we look at the trades that have been running since Monday, the ones we want to close, we want the ones we I want to manage them. And if we see very outstanding opportunity that we might be able to take advantage of, that is, we can get our take profit before the end of the day, we might want to take them. And I think I have two scenarios on that. I think I have two pairs, two fresh new pairs that I want to introduce to us today, because of the opportunity I see on it, which looks more visible to head into take profit target. So, with no much further ado, I want to assume that everyone can hear and see my presentation at this point. And so, if that is the case, and we'll just have to move on, dive into the charts, and let's see what has been happening in the last 24 hours. 722, hello to you. 9074, hi, how are you? Habib hi, how are you too? Good morning. Trust you're doing well. Well, we want to dive into the charts and let's see how price has been playing out since the last 24 hours. So the first pair we want to be taking this morning, as usual, is the UK oil. And on the UK oil, we were taken out of the bearish position that we saw that we identified yesterday as we saw our price broke out of that bearish trend line that was supposed to be our yardstick going into yesterday's New York session. And I'm very sure those who have taken advantage of that bearish opportunity would have actually locked in some profits at somewhere around here before it's finally sliced through that bearish trend line. So now that the scenario has changed from what we had yesterday, then definitely a breakout of that trend line is probably going to be a sign that we want to be going bullish. As we can see, price did a sharp rejection of what was supposed to be a supply zone in the past. If we look left, we can see that it has been a supply zone for us since the end of March, and until we saw that breakout in the later part of May, and price has been respecting that area that's supposed to be a supply zone since the beginning of June. Now that we have the scenario here at this point, we had the breakout of that bearish trend line, then we want to be deleting this one as it's no longer relevant for us as we head into the New York session. So I want to delete this selling position, okay? And we still have our key level holding at $119. Now, going into the New York session, are we going to take advantage of a bullish momentum or not? Let's see what is happening here on the 1 hour time frame, and let's use what's happening to decipher what is going on in the market at this point. Well, the first thing I want to observe here is that I'm seeing something that looks more like a reversal pattern in the form of an inverse head and shoulder, though I don't think it's complete, but it has that peculiarity with the inverse head and shoulder. As we can see, this is the left shoulder. Price came into a neckline, we saw the head. Price came back into the neckline, and we saw the right shoulder. And it appears we're seeing a breakout of structure, which is actually happening at this moment, and which is yet to give us a significant potential. And we want to be looking for a retest of structure to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. And if that's going to be the case at this point, definitely we want to identify a neckline which will serve as our platform to look out for breakout of structure. So if we bring out our line chart at this point and we connect those points together, I think around $120 appears to be our neckline at this point. So let's give this a gold color, and let's make it a little bit more deep, and then we'll label it neckline key level. Okay, we should just limit neckline at $120 at this point. So we have it right at the top of the right hand side, and let's give it a gold color. Let's make it 16, make it bigger. Yeah, I think we are good now. So let's go back to our candle chart. Now it appears we have a scenario here, that is, we have a breakout of that neckline now, giving us a signal that a bullish momentum is imminent at this point. So how do we take advantage of that move? Well, one thing I want to see at this point is I want to see a retest of structure, something like this. It could be a retest of the neckline, exactly on the neckline, or it could go further a little bit down to the key level we identified at $119, after which I want to look out for patterns on lower time frames that supports a trend continuation to the upside. So we want to look for a double bottom structure. It could be an inverse head and shoulder pattern. It could also be a 1, 2, 3 pattern, or it could be a falling wedge. Whatever reversal pattern that arises, we want to look out for a breakout of the structure, a retest of the structure, then we take advantage of a bullish momentum to the upside. Now, with the scenario we have here, we want to be our take profit target still remain at $130, as this has been holding, this perspective has been holding for over 2 weeks now. We've been expecting price to test $130 area in the nearest future. So with this scenario we have here at this point, we are expecting a bullish momentum to happen, and we want to have our entry point right above that key level as soon as the confirmation has happened. So we can be having an entry point right at 120.42 or $40 area, with a stop loss around right below the previous structure or close to the key level at $119. And let's see how price plays out during the New York session. So for me personally, I also think that price could still go a little bit further up, a little bit, probably into $121.80 before the retest happens, and then we look for that pattern to join the potential rally to the upside. So the bullish trend line here, the temporary bullish trend line we identified on the daily time frame. Let me go to the daily time frame so we can see what I'm talking about. We had this bullish trend line, this temporary bullish trend line on the daily time frame that needs to be respected, as we want to continue to see price above that area to be confident and comfortable to be on a bullish momentum on this pair. So going back to the daily, to the 1 hour time frame, let's see what's happening. Okay, you can see we have the bullish trend line here, and it's very possible we're still going to see some move to the upside a little bit, probably into $122 area, before we see a retest of that trend line or probably the key level, and look for patterns on lower time frame that support a trend continuation to the upside. So this is our perspective going into the New York session here on the UK oil. And the other scenario we're going to be having here is this. The other scenario is this. We have the bullish trend line, which was broken sometime 2 days ago. We had a breakout of the breakdown of that bullish trend line, and we had a retest of that trend line. In fact, we had multiple retests of that trend line. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We have a breakdown of the trend line. We had the retest on the trend line. We had price retest one more time again before we saw this head. Then we saw price come back again to retest that area before we saw this. And it's very possible that price could retest that line to the downside. But if we want to do any sell on this pair, definitely it's going to be below the key level at $119, and that is after we have seen confirmation. But for me personally, I'm holding a bullish bias, as we want to be looking for price oscillating right above the neckline at $120. So if price falls below $120, it's a no-no for any buying potential on the UK oil. "725 says is new here. You're welcome on board. You're welcome. Size roll. I hope I got that right. I pronounced that well. It's Friday. Yes, thank God it's Friday. Everyone is excited to witness this day. Good. Okay. So, oh, 309. Hi, how are you? Good morning to you. You're welcome. Unorunen. I hope I got that correctly. Hi, good morning. 945, good morning to you. You're welcome. Are there any questions on what I just explained so far, or is there any clarification needed on following my explanation here on the UK oil? You can type it in the comment section. Let's look at it again if there is. Okay. In the absence of none, then I will move on to the US oil, where we were able to, price was able to hit our take profit target on the US oil yesterday. We saw price move outrightly into a direction. Remember that during yesterday's live session, we were running in profit of about, how many pips was that? I think we were running about 300 pips thereabout, when I said we should move our stop loss to $115. But before the end of the New York session yesterday, price hit our take profit target, and we were able to close with about um, over 400 pips on the US oil. So if you had been on this trade, kudos to you, well done to you. And now we are on a new day. If I were you personally, if you've taken profit on this one, I would just call it a day. But if we want to look at what is going to happen as we head into the New York session on the US oil, allow me to delete this so we can have a clear view of what is happening today. So we still have our neckline at $118.30, which is more or less going to be our key level going forward. And if we look at what structure is having here, we have something that looks a little bit similar to what we had on the US, on the UK oil, though it doesn't fit in to be called an inverse head and shoulder outrightly. But we have something like this, and we have a breakout of that bearish trend line that I mentioned yesterday will serve as a yardstick as we head into the New York session of yesterday. So we might be having a retest of that bearish trend line. Then we look for patterns on lower time frame to join the potential rally to the upside. Now, with the scenario we have at this point, we only want to take buying opportunities right above this neckline at $118.30. And if that is the case, we want to be having our entry point around this area. And mind you, we only want to have entry points after we have a significant breakout of that trend line, which for me at this point doesn't really seem significant to me, as I want to see something like, I want to see price going into $120 area before we see the retest of structure, and we look for patterns on lower time frame that supports a trend continuation to the upside. So what this simply means at this point is this. Let me adjust my position meter to this area. We want to have entry around this area with our stop loss right below previous structure with about 70 to 80 pips as our stop loss on this one. And we have our take profit target at $125 area, which is around over 600 pips to catch if price move as expected. So in addition to what I've said so far, we have a breakout of that bearish trend line. We should be expecting a breakout of the bullish trend line. We want to see price break above to give us further signal that the buyers are very strong at this point before we see a retest of structure to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. Now, the second scenario we're going to be having here is the selling momentum. And what are we going to be looking out for if price is going to do a sell as we head into the end of the trading week? Now, if we look at what has happened since the breakdown of that bullish trend line, we saw the breakdown retest of the bullish trend line a couple of days ago. We saw the breakdown retest of that trend line. We saw this move. We saw breakdown retest. We even saw another retest again here before we saw price going to the downside. And look at what happening here. We have price doing something that looks like a retest, though this candle is still 30 minutes old and it still has a lifetime of around 32 minutes to go on this one, which we are not sure if this would give us, we insinuate a reversal pattern within this area, a breakdown of structure, and then we look forward to a trend continuation to the downside. So for me on this one, we have two scenarios we can play with. going into the New York session. The first one is the bullish momentum, which I explained earlier. And for the bullish momentum, sincerely, I still want to wait for price breaking above that bullish trend line before we see the retest to be sure that we are going bullish. But for this bearish momentum at this point, we'll still need to wait for like a couple of candles on the 1 hour time frame, let's say 2 to 3 hours, where we want to look for patterns that supports a trend continuation to the downside. And if that does not happen and we continue to see significant pressure, selling pressure in this area, then we want to scale down to the lower time frame to look for patterns. That is, we want to see a breakdown of this neckline. At this neckline we identify at $118. We want to see a breakdown retest of that trend line, of that neckline, and we want to see price rallying right below the bearish trend line, which is highlighted in red, this one I'm talking about. We want to see price right below that bearish trend line to confirm that we are going to be on the selling side. So anything above the bullish, above this key level at $118 and above of the bearish trend line is a no for selling opportunity, as that could be a potential to buy the US oil. And if we have anything below that bearish trend line, we want to be selling the US oil. So let's have our entry point right below that bearish trend line, which is also below the key level. And then we have something like this. And we have a stop loss right above the or around that key level with around 100 pips thereabout. Then we have our take profit target. I want to hold $113 as my take profit target at this point if a selling opportunity finally surfaces. So we have something like this with about over 400 pips to catch if price move as expected. So that's the two scenarios I am having here on the US oil. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's remain patient. If we see a signal, we don't want to get too excited, as we want to wait for confirmations on lower time frame to join the potential direction of price action. So at this point, I want to pause a little bit to see if we have questions. We need clarifications so that I can shed more light on them. And if there is none, then we want to move on to the next pair. So I will be giving around 10 to 15 seconds for that to happen. 399, hi, Maken, hello to you. How are you doing today? So we shall be holding on for 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are questions. So in the absence of none, we want to move on to the next pair. So here on the Euro USD, remember during the course of yesterday's trading session, we had two scenarios we were looking at on the Euro USD. And the first scenario was the bullish momentum, which I was very, very emphatic on. That I'm expecting price to break out of the neckline, where we will be looking forward to taking advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. And at the same time, while I was making this observation here on the Euro USD, we were able to go down to the lower time frame, let's say the 15 minutes time frame, where we were looking for selling opportunities. If we have a breakdown of the scale level we identify here, if we have a breakdown retest of that area during yesterday's trading session, where I said if we have a breakdown of this area, retest of this area, I want to be looking for patterns along that bearish trend line to take advantage of a trend continuation to the downside. However, that did not happen, so the bearish opportunity was became invalid, and what's the structures we have here no longer remains significant at this point. So immediately I saw the scenario yesterday. Unfortunately, I was not opportune to be with you so that I can explain this. We saw this scenario where we had a double bottom structure around this area, and from a technical perspective, a double bottom structure, it's a very, very strong reversal pattern. So what did I do at this point? I was looking forward to a breakout of the structure and a retest into structure to take advantage of a bullish continuation to the upside. So what I did at this point was to look out for, I wanted to test waters first. So what I was looking out for here was I wanted to test waters first. So I entered, I made an entry at the breakout of that bearish trend line, where I was looking for a retest of structure, which never happened until we saw that breakout of that neckline during the later part of the New York session yesterday. We saw the breakout of the trend line. In fact, it was a very, very significant breakout, and now we are looking forward to a retest of structure to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. So if you had missed this opportunity from this side, then let us look at how we can actually take advantage of a trend continuation if it's going to happen today. So let's go to the 1 hour time frame. Let's go back to our 1 hour time frame, where we want to look at how structure is at that point, and then let's see if there is an opportunity for us to take advantage of a bullish momentum. So like we said yesterday, we identified a neckline here at around 1.04700, I guess. Yes, 1.04700. We identified that neckline. That was a couple of days ago, where we were looking forward to this double bottom structure, which never saw the light of the day. Now we have a scenario we can work with going forward. So we delete this. We no longer need this bearish trend line. So we have an impulse leg here. That is, we have this impulse leg that began and it culminated at around 1.0600, which is more or less a very strong psychological level. And since then, we saw our price has continued to find lower lows and lower highs going into the early hours of today. Now, we all understand that from a technical perspective, after every impulse leg, we normally do have a retracement phase, and when the retracement phase ends is what we don't know. So to guide this, to be able to allow us to be able to identify when the retracement phase ends, we have a golden rule. We have a rule where we're looking out for price action to retrace into our golden zone area, which is always between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. So if we bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool at this point and run it through that impulse leg, we definitely will have something like this, where we have our retracement phase into the 50 and 78.6%. We have something like this. So we give this a yellow. That's it. We normally give our golden zone yellow. So we label it the buy opportunity zone. That is, this is where we want to take advantage of any buy opportunity as we head into the New York session. Excuse me. So we have just have it inside this area. So we have it like this. Let's delete the retracement tool as it's no longer needed. And you can see that our neckline still falls around within that buy opportunity zone. So now we want to be looking for the culmination of our retracement phase within this area to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. And if that does not happen, then we will let it pass. We'll let the trade pass. We're already on Friday and we don't want to get caught in unnecessary positions that will put our position in jeopardy. So what we want to be looking out for at this point is we want to be looking out for price to come into this buy opportunity zone area where we want to be looking out for a reversal pattern. It could be a double bottom structure. It could be an inverse head and shoulder. It could be a, a falling wedge. It could be a 1, 2, 3 reversal pattern. Then we'll want to look out for a breakout of structure on lower time frame, then patterns that support a trend continuation to the upside. So this is what I'm going to be expecting going into the New York session. And that is for those who miss this opportunity. This how many pips was that? I think it was over 150 pips move. Missed that opportunity. Then we want to look forward to price coming into this buy opportunity zone before we can take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. And if that does not happen this week, it's okay. We still have next week to catch such opportunities going forward. So our take profit target still remain at 1.0700 area, and that's about from this buy opportunity zone we have how many pips is that from buy opportunity zone? We have around that's over 200 pips, which is also very good. And let's just hope that price plays out like that before the end of the week, before the end of today's trading session. And if that is, then we could actually take in some profit on the Euro USD into the weekend. So this is a simple setup I'm looking out for here on the Euro USD. I hope my explanation is clear enough and we don't have any reason to seek further clarification. Let me see. Let's give 10 seconds and see if we have clarifications. Hello, Super Mario. You're welcome. Omizam, you're welcome. 920, you're welcome. 241, good, nice, okay. Love the hello. Gabonza, how are you? You're welcome on board. 386, hello, good morning to you. So let's move on to the next pair, and that is the USD JPY. Yesterday, remember, we were looking forward to remember yesterday we were looking forward to the euro to the USD JPY to its so like I was saying, hold on a second, what's happening here? Give me a moment. I think I'm having network issues at the moment. All right. Okay, great. I think you can hear me now. I was having a little I was having a little network ish, but I think I'm good now. I hope you can hear me now. I hope you can hear me now. Sorry for the breaking transmission. So like I was saying yesterday on the USD JPY, we were expecting price to hit our take profit target at 132.3, which finally happened during the later part of the New York session, and we were able to close our USD JPY with over 210 pips on this one. And personally, it was a big, huge profit for me for this week, as I was able to, because I had over four positions running on the USD JPY, and I had I think close to 700 pips on this one because of the multiple entries I had here. And right now, price is back at our entry zone. Price is back at where it was at the beginning of the week. And since price is back at the beginning of the week, I am of the opinion that we might be seeing another retracement move to the downside. That is price coming back from that area to the downside one more time again. And why am I saying this? If we look left, we can look at where price started during this week. Price started at around 135 Japanese yen area and is right back at that area. And if you see at every point in time price comes into that area, we normally see bearish momentum. You can see how bearish momentum has been happening since price got to that area, even though it could be weak, but we will definitely see bearish momentum from that area. You can see how that is very very conversant with that area. And before we saw that strong one that came during the course of yesterday's trading session. And here we are again at that area. And one thing I want us to be doing at this point, allow me to delete this so that we can have a clear perspective of what the scenario we are looking out for going into the New York session. So if I delete all those ones so we can have a clear picture. So our key level at 134.500 area still holds as we head into the New York session. So one thing I want us to be looking out for here is this. As usual, we want to be looking out for a breakdown of that key level at 134.500 area. We want to look for a retest of the structure, and on lower time frame, look out for patterns that support a trend continuation to the downside. And this bearish momentum could go further into where price was during last week's trading session, and that is around 130.800 area. And if I bring out my pip meter, we see that we could have around over 350 pips move to catch on this one. So this is what I'm looking out for going into the New York session. So one thing I want to do here is to identify where our entry point will be, and that's going to be right below the key level at 134.500 area. And we have something like this. Hold on a second. We have something like this with a take profit target aiming at 131 area. I think 131 area will be most appropriate at this point, and let's see how price plays out going into the New York session. So we have our stop loss right above 135, and then let's see how this plays out. So let me do a recap of what I'm saying here for the sake of clarity. So we want to be looking out for a breakdown of structure of that neckline, of that key level rather, a retest on lower time frame. This could be a sharp one, whatever it is. We want to look, once it breaks down, you can set your sell limit order at this area. Then we want to look for a trend continuation to the downside. However, it is important I state here that if price continue to oscillate right above that key level at 134.500, we do not want to do any sell at that point, as we want to wait for price to come down that 134.500 to take advantage of a selling momentum during the New York session. So this is a very simple setup we have here on the USD JPY, and I hope you will be available to take advantage of that move to the downside. Now, the other pair I want to look out for is the XAU USD, that's the gold. And remember how I told you how much I'm expecting a bullish momentum since the beginning of the week on the XAU USD. I've been telling you since the beginning of the week that I'm expecting a bullish momentum, and lo and behold, this happened yesterday. Sincerely, remember what I told you yesterday? I said we had a key level here at $1,820 area, which is the purple line you can see here. Purple line we can see here. And I told you that if I see a retest of that area, we can see we had the breakout. We had the breakout of the bearish trend line during the course of the early days of this week. We saw the breakout of the trend line. We saw a retest of that area, and we saw that bullish move, but wasn't strong enough. And I told you that if I see a retest of this purple line, that is the $1,820 area, which was supposed to be our yardstick as we headed into the New York session yesterday. Then I scaled down to the lower time frame and I saw multiple rejection of this area. Immediately I joined that uptrend continuation, and I hope you did as well, because this actually fitted with what our explanation was yesterday, and we saw price move significantly to the upside and tested 1,857 before we saw something that looks more like a retracement phase at this point. So for me here, what I will be advising, first of all, I want to say kudos to you guys. If you had taken this opportunity yesterday, kudos to you, well done. And one thing I want to be saying at this point is we want to be moving our stop loss to somewhere around above that key level we identified at $1,830 area, so that we can lock in some profit on this one. So my advice at this point is this: we want to look for a take profit. We want to look for our stop loss right above the key level. Let's say $1,831 will appear to be most appropriate considering the structure we have it here. And if we see price come back into that key level, definitely, and we see reversal patterns on lower time frame from that area, we want to add more position to this trade. So for me on this one, let's just let this run. It's Friday. Let's let this run into our take profit target, which is $1,870, and that's about 4,800 pips if price moves as expected. So once again, congratulations to you guys who must have taken this opportunity. And in addition to what I've said so far, going into the New York session, I've also identified a bullish trend line which has been evolving since the beginning of the week. And we already have two pivot lows on this one, and we have something like this. So one thing I want to be saying here is this: let's allow this trend line be our guide going into the New York session. So one thing will happen is this: if price comes back into that area, we want to be looking for a reversal pattern or a sharp rejection of that bullish trend line to add one more position to this trade. So this is the scenario we'll be looking out for as we head into the New York session. So that is that on the gold. And gold has been good for us this week anyways, though it was it was late, but thank goodness we caught that move. So that is that on the gold. So let's move on to the new pairs I wanted to share with you today. First of all, let us do the GBP USD. And on the GBP USD, the first scenario we noticed here on the 1 hour time frame is that price has been bearish for some time, and we can see the strong impulse leg that began during the course of last week's trading session and culminated at 1.193 area, after which we saw price continue to climb high, which am of the opinion this is more or less a retracement phase of that impulse leg. And if we run our Fibonacci retracement tool through that impulse leg, we will notice our price is back into the golden zone area, which is around between the 618 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. So one thing I did at this point is to identify this area that is between the 78.6 and the 61.8% as a selling zone, a selling niche for future selling potential as we head into the New York session. So at this point, one thing we saw here is that as soon as price tested 1.24 area, we saw price come down. Hold on a second. We saw price come down into 1.22530. Then we saw price go up into 1.23450, where we saw multiple rejections in the last couple of hours, which for me, I'm not sure if price will still go further up, But one thing I want to be looking out for is a lower high. I don't want to see a higher low, a higher high, but I want to see a lower high for confirmations that this supply zone is actually very valid. And after which we see that we want to be looking for double top structure. This could be the double top structure, we never can tell. We see the first hit of that, we see price come down. It could be the second hit around this area or probably around that area. Then I want to be looking out for a breakdown of the neckline of the key level rather, and a retest of that key level. Then we look forward to joining the decline to the downside. So this is the scenario where I'm looking out for on the GBP USD. With the key level sitting at 1.23, this will be our guide going into the New York session, as anywhere below that key level is most appropriate for us to do any selling potential on this one. And with a neckline right at 1.22550, this could welcome multiple entries as we see a breakdown retest of this area heading into the New York session. For a long-term perspective, our take profit target remains at 1.175, which is at over 500 pips, and that is because we had, after running our Fibonacci extension tool from a technical perspective, extending that impulse leg into the future, we had something like this on 127.2% extension of that impulse leg, which gave us the take profit target we have here. But since we only have a day to go this week, I'm looking at a short-term perspective, and when I looked left, I saw that this area has at one point in time been a demand level for participants in the market, and because of this, I want to be placing my take profit target around this area. And when I did, I placed it at around 1.20450 area, which is about 240 250 picks approximately. And I think that is going to be good if price moves as expected, and that will be good for us to close the week with. So that is my scenario here on the GBP USD. So my bias on the GBP USD remains bearish, and I look forward to taking advantage of that move as price action plays out in the next couple of hours. Now, the last one we want to be talking about is the AUD USD. And the reason why I want to be taking the AUD USD is simply because the AUD USD shares the same scenario with that which we had on the GBP USD. During the course of yesterday's session, I shared this setup here where I was expecting price to break down this area and do a retest, and which it did, but we were stopped out at stop loss at around 46 pips, and now price appears to be coming back into that key level at 0.699. Despite the fact that we were stopped out, as we were on the losing side on the AUD USD yesterday, I'm still of the opinion that we might still be seeing selling momentum as we head into the New York session. And why is that so? You can see we had this bullish trend line. Allow me to give it a green color. We had this bullish trend line, and it appears we had the breakdown of that bullish trend line around here. We can see this bearish engulfing candle during the early hours of today, which broke down that key level at 0.699, which also shares a confluence with that bullish trend line. So it appears price is doing a retest of structure at the moment. Then I want to be looking for reversal patterns on lower time frame, breakout of structure, or retest of structure to join the decline to the downside. So because of this, now I'm looking, after confirmation is made, I'll have an entry point right below the key level here at 0.69785. I think I should just adjust this up a little bit. 0.6785. Okay, so it will be 0.69828 now. And then we have a take profit target at the previous structure here. We had a demand zone around this area, so I want to be having my take profit target around there, and that's around 0.68600 area, which will give us about 130 pips thereabout, with a stop loss of about 35 40 pips to work with as we head into the New York session. So this is my scenario here on the AUD USD, and we look forward to price moving as expected, and if it does, be ready to catch that move when it finally happens. So on this note, we want to call it a day, but before we do, let's do a recap of what we discussed so far. So the first pair we expressed today was on the UK oil, where I told you how much I'm expecting a bullish momentum on the UK oil. And that is only going to happen if I have a significant breakout of that connect line at $120. I want to see price break above even this bullish trend line, then a retest of structure where I'll be looking for a reversal pattern to join the trend to the upside. So, and I also made mention of if price comes below $119, a retest of that area could send price crashing to the downside. So if we want to buy this pair, we want to be looking for opportunities right above the $120 to take advantage of the bullish momentum. Our take profit target remains at $130, and that's giving us around over 900 pips to catch if price moves as expected. I'm not sure that will happen today, as we're already done with the week. Now moving on to the US oil, we also have a similar scenario with that which we had on the UK oil, where I told you how much I'm expecting price to break above this bullish trend line significantly, where I will be looking out for a retest of that neckline at $118.20 to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. And with that bullish potential, we have our take profit target at $125, which is over 650 pips move to catch. However, we also painted a selling scenario here on this one, as we would be saying there's a possibility that price could do a retest of that bullish trend line that was broken in the early days of the week, and we see price do a breakdown of that neckline, a retest of that neckline with patterns on lower time frame that supports a trend continuation to the downside. So for the selling opportunity, I made mention that this bearish red line shall be our guide, as anywhere below that bearish trend line, which also shares a confluence with the neckline, is most appropriate for selling opportunities going forward. And if a selling opportunities happen, then we want to have our take profit target at $113, which is about 400 pips to catch, with a take profit with a stop loss right above the neckline at $118.20. So this is the scenario we are looking out for on the US oil. Then we moved on to the Euro USD, where we had the bullish momentum that sparked out of the gutters yesterday. And for us to take a trend continuation to the upside, for those who missed this move, for us to take a trend continuation to the upside, we definitely want to wait for price action to come into our buy opportunity zone, which is the golden zone, and it's actually between the 50 and the 78.6% retracement of this impulse leg. So we want to wait for price action to come into that buy opportunity zone for us to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. And mind you, this could take about 2, 3, 4 hours for that to form, and so patience is hereby required at this point. Please don't get too excited when we get the signal. Wait for confirmations to happen before you join the potential rally. Our take profit target still remain at 1.0700, with about 200 pips to catch if price plays out as expected. Now we moved on to USD JPY, where we explained how we took advantage, where we hit take profit target yesterday with about 210 pips. We were able to make profit on the USD JPY yesterday, and if we look at what has been happening in the last 24 hours, price has come back into where it started during the week. And because of this, I'm also expecting another bearish momentum from this area that could push price further below the previous low. So what I'm looking out for is this. I'm looking out for a breakdown of this key level. So going into the New York session, the key level at 134.500 shall be our yardstick, as anywhere below the key level is most appropriate and comfortable for us to take advantage of the selling potential as we head into the New York session. You could wait for a breakdown, retest of structure, or you could take the outright sell right away. But mind you, ensure that you move your stop loss accordingly as price action moves in our favor. So that is that on the USD JPY. Then we moved on to the gold, where we explained how we were expecting a bullish momentum so bad since the beginning of the week, though it took quite a long time before that happened. And I explained to you how we took advantage of that move from here We saw a retest of this purple line here, and we took that move to the upside. Now, going into the New York session, if you had missed this move from this area to this point, then we still have another opportunity, and that is only if price comes back down to test this this bullish trend line, after which we could look for reversal patterns to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. So if that happens, please don't miss this one this time around if you had missed the first one. And if we can be able to catch this one, we could be seeing about how many pips from there, from the key level. We could be seeing over 3,500 pips to catch on the XAUUSD when that happens. So we moved on to the AUD where I explained to you that I'm expecting a bearish momentum. We actually had price hit our stop loss yesterday. We had a loss position on the AUD yesterday, and but price is back at the key level at 0.699, and it appears it has broken down that bullish trend line. So I want to see further clarifications in the form of a breakdown retest of the key level at 0.699 to take advantage of a trend continuation to the downside. So this is what I'm looking out for. With the take profit target sitting at 0.686 or 0.685, we have a over 100 pips to catch on the AUD. Then the last one we explained, we talked about here is the GBP where I'm strongly expecting a bearish momentum on the GBP and why is that? If we look left, we can see our price has been bearish. We have a very strong impulse leg since the beginning of last week trading session, and price appears to do a retracement into our golden zone area, which I've marked as a supply niche for selling opportunities going forward, and I'm looking forward to a downtrend continuation. And if this happens on a long term, we have a take profit target at 1.175 area. However, since we are already on the last day of the trading week, it's appropriate that we just look for a short-term perspective. And because we had a demand structure here in the past, I want to be taking my profit around this area, because there could be a possibility price could climb up from this area once it get tested. So we have about 250 pips to catch if price moves as expected. So on this note, I would like to say thank you for being around with me. I enjoyed every moment with you guys, and I look forward to seeing more of you sometime, same time on Monday. God bless you.